This is Omar Woodburn for New Street Culture, and today, what's your COVID stories? I got in Juke, and I've brought in Juke because I know that this is a man that has got an opinion or an idea, an ideal that's not necessarily going to follow just the narrative that the media push out or what we will see on the news and stuff like that. And I just thought it'd be interesting to share with everyone and get everyone to have a little insight into our conversations. How you doing, bro? You good?
Good.
That's
good.
good.
To be here.
So where I want to start is, I've been starting them at the beginning. So where were you, like, where was your mind at the start of this whole COVID-19? Like, you've seen it on the news, it's in China, COVID-19's taking over China, they're about to lock down China. Where are you, what you're thinking, or what's your thoughts at this moment in time?
Well, when it first occurred, my first thoughts were that, okay, what's happening now? What are they going to try to get us to believe, I guess, because it's as if I've been here before.
How do you mean?
I mean, since occurrences like 9/11 and all of this stuff that was happening, that's happened sort of like worldwide, where the governments are trying to get us to follow a narrative.
Yeah.
And the way how it pans out. So when something else happens, I'm sort of cautious about,
skeptical.
Yeah, about
Okay.
what really is going on. And 9 times out of 10, within a couple of months, it's apparent.
Okay.
To me, anyway.
So, alright, then, so with this one then, where did you start? Like, if you was thinking, like, feeling skeptical or cautious about what they're going to try and get us to, like, what did you do?
Well, for starters, about 5 years ago, I watched a film and a couple of documentaries on the way how governments would try to control on a different level, and this came up, an epidemic or some sort of virus would be put out there in order to get the whole public's attention.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, even a book I read called 1984 by, I think it's Orson.
I seen somebody post that on Instagram the other day, to be fair.
Yes, that book is interesting because this book was written, I think, in 1944.
Yeah.
And it was basically to tell the future.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what this book says, because word for word, this book is telling us what's going on today, and all of these things are in there. It's funny how you get some people able to write stuff centuries beforehand, and it just comes to pass. And there's a reason for this, but I don't want to get into that. But the thing is, this virus is familiar in this book, and also in some of the documentaries that I've been watching 5 years previously. And that's why when it came out, it was just so, wow, I wonder what they're going to push on this one.
Okay.
But this is the first one that is completely, the whole world leaders are in unison.
Yeah.
To lock everybody down.
So is that you think all the world leaders are working together?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from some of them are basically not in the group.
Yeah.
For instance, Russia is doing everything they can to avert war or getting into it. Just the way how the monetary system has been working also, I see that Russia is not a part of this.
Okay.
For instance, when the banks in the West crash the banks so that the people lose their money and the government have to bail out the banks, which has happened by the RBX Bank a couple of years ago, well, about 10 years ago, where the bankers basically crashed the banks. and all the pensioners and the people with the ISAs and the wages, everybody lost that and didn't get it back. But the government bailed out the bankers, so that means they went to the Federal Reserve and basically got all the cash back to restart the bank. But the problem with that is when governments go and get money from the Federal Reserve, they have to pay a price, and this is the whole idea of the Federal Reserve, and why they want all nations and countries to be a part of the Federal Reserve, because they then can charge billions to the countries.
You're saying that's how they make their money then?
That's how they make their monies, and that means that we'll never be out of debt, because every time you pay back the last lot, you have to pay a charge of the new lot. So when the bankers, RBS bankers, got bailed out, the people had to still pay. Even the ones that lost the money, the ISAs, the wages, they still had to pay back through their taxes. Now, when this happened in Russia and in Iceland, Putin put the bankers in prison. And and 22 bankers went to prison. And in Iceland, so then he kicked out the Rothschild owners. So I would say it is a world conspiracy. They've got an ideology to basically change the face of how we live through AI and stuff like that. Imagine driving cars and you don't need a driver. Now this is where they're going.
That's what's coming now?
Yeah, that's where they're going with the AI.
We've got that technology now.
But if it was just as simple as that, that'd be cool. I'm down with that. But in order for them to do that, they have to change the whole system. They have to change the grid system. Like 5G, that's where 5G comes in. Because 5G runs differently than 4G, and it's a lot more powerful.
Is that why, I've heard a lot of conspiracies talking about 5G. This isn't about coronavirus, it's 5G that they're pumping into us and stuff like that.
Yes, the 5G situation is the reason why it's closely connected is because 5G would appear to have the same symptoms as a flu.
Okay.
Because imagine water and electric. Water and electric, when them two are together, water conducts a very good conductor of electric. So the power it streams more fluent, and if you're in the middle of that circuit, you're going to get burnt or dead. Now, you have to understand our bodies are 70% fluid. And in this case, it's as if water and electric, because the waves from 5G, when it goes into your body, it basically closes down or cuts the oxygen to the cells. So that would excrete fever symptoms and sweating and flu symptoms. So when people think, oh, 5G, how can it do that? But this is the reason why, because it's like fluid and electric.
So when we're talking about COVID-19, like on the news now, we're talking about a lot of people that are dying daily. Obviously the pandemic has put everyone in fear of going out, being in contact with each other. Like, what's your opinion like in terms of whether coronavirus, COVID-19, like, so do you think that is actually a thing, or do you think it's just fear mongering, and like, what do you think?
Well, it's not. To me, it's ridiculous. There's been a number of counts of people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Now you have to understand, COVID-19 is about 26 strains of the flu. They're all different. Now the people who are dying, yes, there is people dying, but if you check the counts, for instance, last year 170,000 people died of a flu-related illness. The counts of COVID virus is basically counted by having supposedly symptoms or something in your blood. All you need to do is have had a flu jab in your life or have had the flu, that will come up as COVID-19.
Yeah.
People are dying of normal deaths because you notice they say it's old people and vulnerable people, ill people. Yeah, they would die of the common flu if they had it.
Yeah.
And this is the issue. So they're passing off this pandemic to something that is happening anyway. Right? I've had people, I know, well, since...
That's what I was going to say. Like, some people, like, obviously, like, I know people, like, I got friends who their relatives have passed away. I haven't had anyone personally, like, close to me pass away, but I've got friends who their relatives passed away and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my best friends, Kenny Brown, rest in peace, he passed away sadly. But I'm sure that was to do with his heart. I've had another couple of friends in London who died, a brother and sister who died. They put that down to COVID-19. But they were ill for some time previously.
Okay.
And I've seen reports even on American TV and stuff like that, that they actually say that they are counting COVID-19 by not so much if by you dying by it, but if you die and you have it in your system, they will tick you off as dying by COVID-19. Now, why is that then? If this was real, people would be dropping in the streets. People would be like just walking down, and all of a sudden you feel the fever because you're contacted with somebody else and you drop down. All of this two meter business is foolishness.
Think so?
Of course it is, because look, yesterday I was in the Tesco over there. I don't queue up for nothing. Somebody was with me and they was saying, oh, just wait with me. So I'm waiting there and I'm 2 meters in front of someone else and behind someone else. And so the security guard at the front is saying to me, oh, you can't go in yet. So when he lets us in, he then says, walk down that side. But as soon as we walk into the store, the same person who's in front of me is now
next to me.
Nobody dropping down dead. And it's just pure foolishness. And it's just the governments are checking to see if we are going to be obedient. And like sheep.
I think so.
Yeah, because everybody is walking around with masks and gloves.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because the mask that you wear is basically, good example, basically the material would not be able to stop COVID-19 getting through your mask.
But the thing is, like, there's been a lot of discussion about this. Yeah. But in my opinion, I'm saying, like, okay, I can understand that it's not like surgical masks that people are wearing. But I'm saying the material, doesn't it just at least act as a barrier so that it could reduce it to like a certain percentage?
All right, look at this. If you had a basketball, okay, and then you had the basketball net, which the basketball goes through it. Well, the mask that you wear is like the net, and the COVID is like the ball. It's going through.
Yeah.
Just because it's minute and you can't see the difference. If you were to put it under a microscope,
the fibers are so small.
Yes, the fibers are crazy small. So that's not going to help you. And I just don't understand that. The only people who are dying of COVID-19 are the ones that go to hospital. Because I haven't seen nobody drop down with COVID-19 anywhere around me or on the streets.
I think, like, for me, like, obviously I have to be, I'm trying to remain as impartial as possible because, like, say the New Street platform, like, really, I just want to put that out there so that other people can have their opinion. And I'm taking on board some of the things that you say, and I'm aligned to, like, in terms of like the fear-mongering, I definitely think that is something that is true. I do think that, like, when we have pandemics, whatever it is, like, I do think they try and push fear on us. And I think that a lot of the people, like, just get consumed by watching the news every day, and then you're just living in fear. And I think that has created segregation. It's like, even like I was talking to someone at work the other day, and we was talking about when it was terrorism, and like, at that point, like, you didn't want to go on the bus, you didn't want to go on the train. And I do think that there's similarities.
Well, how come? What I want to know is how come 5 years ago terrorism was the thing.
Yeah.
the airports, walking with bags on your back, leaving bags here, there and everywhere. Everybody was fearful of that, and that's what the narrative was pushed for us to do.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years later now, you don't hear about
We're not worried about that anymore.
So what? Where did it go? Where did terrorism go? And why isn't it the top priority? Listen, terrorism, okay, they put all the money, resource, change the laws for something that is a fear of terrorism. Now, like I said last year, obesity, 85,000 people died in this country of obesity, okay? How many people died of terrorism? 0. For the last 5 years, 0. Every year, 85,000 to 100,000 people die of food-related obesity incidences.
Yeah.
Now, what have they done if they care about us? What have they done to lessen that number? Have they stopped the adverts for McDonald's and this fake food that we're eating? Have they done that? No, but they want to push terrorism on us, okay, to say this is the, you need to be fearful of terrorism because you will get killed. But yet, the statistics show 0 people died last year, for the last 5 years, the last 10 years, and if you want to talk about 10, 15 years, the most that died was probably 2, and that's questionable. 20 years, 9/11. Who did that?
Well, that's another story. I don't want to go off too much on that.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is basically, fear-mongering is more important than actually stopping life, and this is the issue.
So how have you coped? Like obviously you're talking about you don't, so you don't queue or anything like that. Like, what do you do if you're gonna go to the shop? If you don't queue, like, what do you do? Just walk straight to the front?
Number one, I very rare shop at supermarkets because that's another issue for me. I don't eat the non-foods. I eat food to live, not food to die. So I'm not going to go into a place and even buy their vegetables that basically they spray, and we subtly go through this illness. I haven't been ill for 10 years because I don't eat from them. Okay. So I don't queue up because I go to the Indian man. The Indian market where they sell proper food that goes out of, which goes off. I don't eat food that I can have in my. I don't even use a fridge.
Serious?
100%. I don't use a fridge. I use a freezer for my fish, but I don't use a fridge because I don't believe all my food will rot, so I have to eat it.
So obviously, you have got these views, but the people around you, like say your close friends and family, stuff like that, they're not all gonna have these views as you. So how?
Yeah, 100%. Man, I haven't seen my daughter since it started.
Serious?
Yeah, me and her mum gets on real good, but she's in fear. So, but I have now since day before yesterday. Yeah. The ban was lapsed, so obviously I went and picked her up and stuff like that. But people around me, it's a problem to me because I'm still free and not under any guidelines.
How free are you if the people around you aren't free?
That's what I'm saying. They're not free, so when I want to be free and walk and hang out, I'm walking on my own. Yeah. But then again, I say, but people who come to the studio and stuff, 30% of them are still hanging out and still coming over, and it ain't no big deal. Okay. So I still see my son and even his mom.
So how was it like when you're saying you can't see your daughter? How old is she?
9.
How has she coped and how have you coped with the separation kind of thing?
Well, we FaceTime every day. Okay. But obviously, she sort of tells me to shut up because she wants to, it's kind of not so much fun, but exciting in some ways to people who don't have to be responsible because they've got parents to do it for them. But her mum now, after all this time, has said to me, "Oh, you know what? I do believe what you're saying." Yeah. So I had to go through 2-3 months of not seeing my daughter and getting kind of agitated because all these people are running around wearing masks and gloves for something that a government that don't care about them has told them to do, and it's not their fault because it's a fear, and it's very powerful, just like adverts on TV. That's very powerful. Why do you think they put billions into adverts and stuff? Because it works. and that's the issue. But it's down to people who do look into stuff and research. I think everybody should, rather than just take what they're told, research it. Research it.
But you see, my problem with research is that, like, I always feel like if I'm researching something, how do I know that where I'm researching, the source, is credible?
Well, you have to put it up against other stuff. Researching isn't just going to one source. You need to pan and look at the narrative that is given out, and also the history of what's going on, and all of these things, elements of a part in the pie to get the truth or the right.
So, like, when we're talking about COVID, so what do you think, like, the ultimate agenda is? Like, why do you think that the governments are trying to get us scared? Like, because some people, when they hear people talk like, oh yeah, fearmongering and stuff like that, they just think that's an alien idea. They couldn't even understand why.
Listen, we have to go back in time, and I'm going to be too long, but we have to go back in time to understand what's going on and where we're going.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We have to go back to, I ain't going back too far, but the bottom line is, the world government or the Western government want to control the whole world. Those of you who believe in the Bible, you will see something called the 10 Commandments. Well, the people who run us has put up new 10 Commandments in the form of the what is it, Denver stones, some big massive stones with 10 Commandments on it. And the very first commandment states to keep the population under 500 million.
Okay.
We're at 7.5 billion, so they have to get rid of 7 billion of us in order for their plan to work. Now, so you ask, what is the outcome of this? It's been a slow drip for years, centuries and centuries, and basically in every one of these events there has been laws changed. 9/11, what happened? 9/11, the law was changed to basically the Terrorism Act, where basically if somebody is seen to be against the narrative of the government, they will be deemed as a terrorist. So the new law states that that person can be arrested, incarcerated, tortured, even killed without a trial. Without a trial. Guantanamo Bay was an example. Now this one, believe this or not, already there's a law being going through Parliament called the COVID-122, which basically states that if you cough or you seem to be in a state and the police is called, they can arrest you and force you to take a vaccine or a chip. And now this is in law. This is gone. Whilst we're running around being fearful and doing nothing, staying at home under house arrest, they've changed the law, and that is going through now.
Okay.
So my point is this: whilst we're all being good citizens, we're sheep to the slaughter. We are slowly drying and walking into a situation that we won't be able to get out of, because by the time we realise, there'll be martial law unrolled. Right? Because how can you have the police force telling people to go home and stay in your homes under the guise of, if you don't, you're going to catch a disease and die? We are human beings and free. We're supposed to make choices ourselves, right? But so the police can come around and say to us, you cannot go out. You need to stay in your yard. You can't do this. You can't do that. So eventually what's going to happen is people will be revolting against the government. And then they're going to bring in the police with the guns. And just like when rioting happened, when we're in our communities and the police or the government does stuff against us as black people, we go out and we throw buckle and stone, rightly so, because people should not be oppressed in the way that you can't be human beings. So that's what we do. Eventually, I think all people will be under the pressure to come out and be civil disobedient. Disobedience. So the police will then, or the governments will instruct the police, as they do in other countries.
Yeah.
This country is different because the people in this country like to queue anyway. They don't argue.
Polite in this country.
You're very polite. They stand up and they queue up, and somebody disrespecting the queue, they just put their head down and say, "Whoa." They don't do anything. They don't start. As black people are different, we will start fighting, which is natural, which we should do. If somebody oppresses us, we shouldn't just turn the other cheek. We should basically stand up for your rights so we can move on in life, rather than just be sheep.